Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The evening breeze carried the faint sound of clattering plates, a familiar melody in the modest apartment. Here, routine was a comforting constant, especially to the couple who called it home. As the moonlight shone through the kitchen window, a man stood at the sink, his movements methodical as he washed their dinner dishes. Drying his hands, he glanced at the woman he'd been married to for 3 years, Maria, absorbed in her studies at the table.
"Another late night with the books, my dear,"
he smiled, knowing full well the dedication she poured into her cosmetology course. Maria's dark hair fell across her face as she looked up, a timeless gesture that still made his heart skip a beat. "Getting there," she said. "But these practical exams are tricky. I need to master the techniques." And what about your classmates? Would you maybe let me practice on you?" The request hung in the air. Javier blinked several times, processing what his wife was asking. "You want to put makeup on me?" "Just for practice. No one would see but us." Her expression was earnest, hopeful. "Please? I really need to nail these techniques, and you have such good bone structure." Javier ran a hand through his short black hair, hesitation evident in his posture. He loved Maria, supported her career change from accounting to cosmetology. But this was unexpected. "Just makeup? Nothing crazy?" Maria clapped her hands together. "Just makeup, I promise. And I'll take pictures for my portfolio submission, but they'll only be seen by my instructor." That evening, Javier sat awkwardly on a stool in their bathroom, under the bright vanity lights Maria had installed when she started school. She draped a cape around his shoulders and studied his face with new, professional scrutiny. "You have amazing skin," she murmured, applying primer with gentle fingers. "And your cheekbones are to die for." Javier squirmed slightly under her touch. "This feels weird." "Just relax." Her voice was soothing as she worked. "Close your eyes." Time seemed to slow as Maria transformed his face. The gentle sweep of brushes, the dab of sponges, the subtle scent of cosmetics, all of it strangely intimate, yet clinical. When she finally spun him toward the mirror, Javier's breath caught. The face looking back wasn't quite his anymore. The eyes were larger, more expressive, framed by lashes that seemed impossibly long. His lips were fuller, a soft rose color that complemented the warm blush on his cheeks. "What do you think?" Maria asked, nervously biting her lip. I don't know what to say." Javier tilted his head, studying the stranger in the mirror. "It doesn't even look like me." "That's the point. But wait, something's missing." Maria disappeared into their bedroom, returning with a silky pink blouse and a floral skirt. "The assignment is for a complete look. Would you?" Javier's immediate instinct was to refuse, but the hopeful look on Maria's face made him hesitate. She had supported him through his career changes, his late nights at the office, his occasional moodiness. This was important to her. "Just this once," he said finally, "and no pictures of the full outfit." Maria helped him into the clothes, which fit surprisingly well despite the differences in their builds. She added a pair of nude pumps from her closet, adjusting the straps around his ankles. "Perfect!" She stood back, admiring her work. "Oh, but your hair..." Before Javier could protest, she was styling his short hair as best she could, adding a few discreet clips to feminize the look. There, she said finally. Dalia is born. Dalia? Javier raised an eyebrow. You can't be Javier looking like this. Maria laughed. You need a feminine name, and you remind me of a Dalia, complex and beautiful. Javier, or Dalia, took a few tentative steps in the heels, surprised at how quickly he adapted to the new center of balance. The skirt swished around his knees, a sensation both foreign and oddly pleasing. Not bad, Maria said, circling him with a critical eye. Not bad at all. You're a natural. The evening ended with Maria removing his makeup, both of them laughing at the absurdity of it all. But as Javier lay in bed that night, he found himself touching his bare face, remembering the transformation. It had been strange, yes, but also fascinating, like stepping into someone else's life for a brief moment. Would you mind if we did that again? Maria asked a week later. I got an A on my assignment, but there's another technique I need to master. Javier agreed more readily this time. The second session was easier, more comfortable. Maria tried a different color palette, more dramatic eyes, a bolder lip. I brought something new, she said, pulling out a small bag. Clip-on earrings, and I picked up this at a thrift store. She held up a simple auburn wig, the color rich and warm against the light.
You're really going all out,
Javier commented, but he didn't object as she fitted the wig over his head, adjusting it carefully. The auburn really suits you, Maria murmured, stepping back to assess. It brings out the warmth in your skin tone. By the third session, Javier found himself looking forward to the transformation. He helped Maria select nail polish colors, practiced feminine mannerisms in the mirror, and even suggested outfit combinations from her closet. You're getting into this, Maria observed, applying a coat of clear top coat to his freshly painted nails, a subtle mauve that complemented the floral dress he wore.
It's fun,
Javier admitted.
It's like a performance, being someone else for a while.
The auburn wig had become a regular feature, the color seeming to suit Dalia perfectly. Maria had styled it differently each time, experimenting with loose waves, straight sleek looks, and even an elegant updo. My final project is coming up, Maria mentioned one evening as she removed Dalia's makeup. It's a complete transformation. Makeup, hair, outfit, the works. The models will attend a mock cocktail party with the instructors and other students. Javier felt a flutter of panic.
You want me to go out? In public? As Dalia?
Maria took his hand. You wouldn't have to speak much. Just mingle a little, sip champagne. Everyone there will be with their models. Some are husbands, boyfriends, friends. You wouldn't be the only one. The thought was terrifying, and yet strangely exhilarating. Let me think about it, he said finally. For days, Javier contemplated the request. The private sessions with Maria had awakened something in him, not just the enjoyment of transformation, but a curiosity about this feminine side he'd never explored. Dalia was becoming more than a character. She was becoming a part of him.
I'll do it,
he told Maria one morning over coffee.
For your final project.
Maria's face lit up. Really? Oh, Javi, thank you. This is going to be amazing. The preparation for the final project was intensive. Maria purchased a proper auburn wig, professionally styled with soft layers that framed Dalia's face perfectly. She selected a burgundy cocktail dress with delicate lace details that hugged Javier's frame in all the right places, creating the illusion of curves where there were none. "The key is drawing the eye to your best features," Maria explained as she contoured his face with expert strokes, "and distracting from areas we want to minimize." The makeup application took nearly 2 hours, each step meticulous and deliberate. When Maria finally handed Dalia a mirror, the transformation was so complete that Javier barely recognized himself.
Is that really me?
The voice that emerged was softer than usual, almost unconsciously feminized.
That's all you,
Maria confirmed, pride evident in her voice.
You're stunning, Dalia.
The cocktail party was held in the Cosmetology school's event space, transformed for the evening with soft lighting and elegant decorations. Javier's heart pounded as Maria helped him from the car, the high heels making him slightly unsteady on the pavement. "Remember what we practiced," Maria whispered, looping her arm through his. Small steps, hips fluid, shoulders back but relaxed. Inside, the room was filled with students and their models, instructors circulating with clipboards, evaluating the transformations. Javier took a deep breath, settling into Dalia's persona as they entered. "Maria!" A woman approached, clipboard in hand. "Is this your model?" "Yes, this is Dalia," Maria replied, squeezing Javier's arm encouragingly. The instructor circled them, making notes. "Excellent color choice with the dress. It complements the auburn hair beautifully. The makeup is flawless, especially the eye work. Very natural, yet enhancing." Javier felt a flush of pride on Maria's behalf. The instructor moved on, and Maria led him to a small group of her classmates. "Everyone, this is Dalia," she introduced. "Dalia, these are my friends from class." The evening progressed more smoothly than Javier had anticipated. He kept his voice soft and limited, letting Maria do most of the talking. People complimented his appearance, asked about the techniques Maria had used, and generally treated Dalia as just another guest at the party. By the time they returned home, Javier felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "You were amazing," Maria said, helping him remove the wig. "Everyone was impressed. I'm definitely getting an A."
I'm glad.
Javier kicked off the heels with relief.
It was interesting. Not as scary as I thought it would be.
Maria paused, a makeup wipe in hand. Would you ever want to do it again? Not for school, I mean." The question hung between them, weighted with possibilities. Javier considered it, remembering the freedom he'd felt as Dalia, the liberation of stepping outside himself.
Maybe,
he said finally.
Under the right circumstances.
The right circumstances arrived sooner than expected. 2 weeks after the final project, Maria received an invitation to a girls' night out with her classmates, now graduates of the program. They specifically asked if Dalia could come, Maria mentioned casually over breakfast. They thought you were fun. Javier looked up from his toast.
They know I'm not actually...
Of course they do, but they liked Dalia, and it's just drinks and dancing. Maria shrugged. Just thought I'd mention it. Javier found himself considering it. The first public outing had been nerve-wracking but ultimately successful, and there had been something freeing about being Dalia, a confidence he didn't always feel as Javier. Where would we go? He asked, finally. Maria's eyes widened. Really? You'd come? Just this cocktail lounge downtown, nothing too crazy. I guess I could, if you help me get ready. And so Dalia became Maria's occasional weekend companion. At first, it was just once a month, a night out with the girls, a chance for Javier to explore this other side of himself in a safe environment. Maria's friends were accepting, treating Dalia as one of their own. The auburn wig became Dalia's signature, the rich color now immediately associated with her persona. Javier invested in his own wardrobe for Dalia, pieces chosen carefully with Maria's guidance. Tasteful dresses, comfortable yet feminine shoes, subtle jewelry that complemented without overwhelming. "You're getting better at this than me," Maria laughed one evening, watching Javier apply his own lipstick, the burgundy shade perfectly matching his dress.
"I had a good teacher,"
he replied, blotting his lips carefully. 6 months after the first transformation, Dalia was no longer just an occasional character, but a regular part of their lives. Javier found himself thinking of Dalia not as a disguise, but as an expression of himself, another facet of his identity that had been hidden until Maria had helped bring it to light. The lines between Javier and Dalia began to blur in subtle ways. His gestures became more graceful, his speech patterns softer, even when he wasn't dressed as Dalia. He started growing his hair out, the natural dark strands now reaching his collar.
"It's easier to fit under the wig,"
he explained when Maria commented on it. But they both knew it was more than that. One Saturday morning, as they sat drinking coffee, Maria broached a subject they'd been dancing around. "Have you thought about making Dalia more permanent?" Javier looked up, his cup paused midway to his lips.
"What do you mean?"
"I mean, you're happier when you're her. I can see it. You're more relaxed, more yourself somehow." Maria reached across the table, taking his hand. "I'm wondering if you've thought about transitioning, not just for weekends." The word hung in the air between them. Transitioning. It was a thought that had crept into Javier's mind late at night, a possibility that both frightened and enticed him.
"I don't know,"
he admitted. "It's a big step." "It is," Maria agreed. "And you don't have to decide anything now. But I want you to know that whatever you choose, I'm here. I love you, Javier, or Dalia, or whoever you discover yourself to be." The conversation opened a door that couldn't be closed. Javier began researching, reading stories of other transgender women, consulting with therapists specializing in gender identity. The more he explored, the more pieces fell into place. The discomfort he'd sometimes felt in his own skin, the immediate affinity for Dalia's existence, the rightness he felt when addressed as she. 3 months later, Javier made his decision. He started hormone therapy, the first step in a journey that felt both terrifying and absolutely necessary. Maria was beside him through it all, the emotional swings of early hormone treatment, the gradual physical changes, the legal process of changing his name. "I want to keep Dalia," he, now she, told Maria. "It feels like who I was always meant to be." Dalia's auburn hair was no longer a wig, but her own growing locks, carefully colored and styled to match the shade that had become so integral to her identity. The makeup that had once been a temporary transformation became a skill she honed daily, a way of presenting her true self to the world. A year into her transition, Dalia stood before the mirror in their bedroom, studying her reflection. The changes were subtle but significant. Softer skin, the slight fullness in her chest, the redistribution of fat that gave her a more feminine silhouette. She wore a simple green dress, one that Maria had helped her select for a dinner party they were hosting that evening. "Ready?" Maria appeared in the doorway, elegant in a black cocktail dress. Almost. Dalia applied a final touch of lipstick, the color a perfect complement to her auburn hair. How do I look? Beautiful, Maria said, coming to stand beside her. As always. The dinner party was a milestone, the first time they had entertained as a couple since Dalia's transition began. The guests were carefully chosen friends who had supported them throughout the journey. As Dalia moved through the evening, refilling wine glasses and engaging in conversation, she felt a sense of completeness that had eluded her for most of her life. This wasn't a performance anymore, not a character she stepped into for a night. This was her life, authentic and whole. Later, as they cleared the last of the dishes, Maria nudged her gently. You were amazing tonight. Everyone loved you. They loved us, Dalia corrected, smiling. We make a good team. We always have. Maria leaned against the counter. You know, when I asked you to be my practice model, I never imagined where it would lead. Neither did I. Dalia set down the dish she was drying. Are you happy with how things turned out? Maria considered the question, her expression thoughtful. I'm happy because you're happy. Because you're finally living as your true self. It hasn't been easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. The journey continued, with its challenges and triumphs. Dalia faced the complications of navigating the world as a transgender woman, the occasional stares, the administrative hurdles, the need to educate even well-meaning friends. But she also experienced the joy of alignment, of finally feeling at home in her own body and identity. 2 years after her transition began, Dalia stood on the beach, the sun setting over the ocean, casting golden light across the sand. She and Maria had escaped for a weekend getaway, a chance to relax and reconnect. Remember our first beach trip? Maria asked, her hand warm in Dalia's. How could I forget? I was so nervous about wearing a swimsuit in public. Dalia laughed at the memory. You practically had to drag me out of the hotel room. And now, look at you! Maria gestured to Dalia's flowing beach dress, the color echoing the sunset. Confident, beautiful, completely yourself. Dalia squeezed Maria's hand. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have, Maria countered. Maybe differently, maybe later. But this was always who you were meant to be. I just helped you discover it sooner. They walked along the shoreline, waves lapping at their feet, the cooling sand between their toes. Dalia's auburn hair caught the dying sunlight, glowing like embers against the darkening sky. What are you thinking about? Maria asked, noticing Dalia's contemplative expression. The future, Dalia replied. Our future. How lucky I am to have found myself, and to have you beside me through it all. Maria smiled, leaning her head against Dalia's shoulder. Here's to many more beach sunsets. And many more adventures, Dalia added. As the last light faded from the sky, they turned back toward their hotel, walking arm in arm into the gathering darkness. Dalia's path forward wasn't without its uncertainties, but one thing was clear. She was finally walking in her truth, each step authentically her own. 3 years into her transition, Dalia received an unexpected opportunity. The cosmetology school where Maria had trained was looking for a guest speaker for their diversity seminar, someone who could speak about the intersection of cosmetics and identity. They specifically asked for you, Maria told her, showing Dalia the email. They remembered you from my final project, and they've followed your journey through my updates. Dalia hesitated. Public speaking had never been her strength, even before her transition. The thought of standing before a room full of students, sharing her personal experience, was daunting. "I don't know, Maria. What would I even say?" "You'd say what you've lived," Maria replied simply. "How makeup wasn't just cosmetic for you. It was a gateway to discovering yourself." After much consideration, Dalia agreed. She spent weeks preparing her presentation, refining her message, practicing in front of Maria, and then a small group of friends. The day of the seminar arrived, and Dalia stood backstage, smoothing down her emerald green dress, a color she'd chosen deliberately for its associations with growth and renewal. "You've got this," Maria whispered, adjusting a strand of Dalia's auburn hair. "Just speak from the heart." When Dalia stepped onto the small stage, facing the audience of aspiring cosmetologists, her initial nervousness gave way to a surprising calm. These were people who understood transformation, who dedicated their careers to helping others present their best selves to the world. "My journey began where many of you are now," she started, her voice steady. "In a classroom not unlike this one, where my wife was learning the art of makeup application. I was reluctant when she first asked to practice on me, afraid, really, of what I might see in the mirror." The room was silent, attentive. Dalia continued, sharing the story of her evolution from reluctant model to weekend alter ego to her authentic self. She spoke about the power of cosmetics not as a mask, but as a tool for revelation, a way to bring the inner self outward. "For some, makeup is enhancement," she concluded. "For others, like me, it can be illumination, shining a light on what was always there beneath the surface. As future professionals, you'll have the privilege of helping people see themselves clearly, perhaps for the first time. That's not just a skill, it's a sacred trust." The applause was warm, enthusiastic. Afterward, students approached with questions, sharing their own stories of transformation through cosmetics. One young man lingered until the crowd had thinned. "I just wanted to say thank you," he said quietly. "Your story, it resonates with me. I've been using makeup in private, afraid to show anyone. Hearing you speak makes me feel less alone." Dalia felt a rush of emotion. "The journey is different for everyone," she told him. "But you don't have to walk it alone. Find your people, those who see you and celebrate you, whoever you turn out to be." On the drive home, Maria reached across the console, taking Dalia's hand. "You were incredible today. You should have seen their faces when you were speaking, especially that young man at the end." "I never thought I'd be inspiring anyone," Dalia admitted. "I'm still figuring things out myself." "That's exactly why you're inspiring," Maria countered. "You're showing that it's okay to be in process, to be becoming." The seminar led to more speaking engagements, small gatherings at first, then larger events. Dalia found her voice as an advocate, not just for transgender individuals, but for anyone navigating questions of identity and authenticity. Her professional background in marketing, combined with her personal journey, gave her a unique perspective that resonated with diverse audiences. Maria supported this new direction, often accompanying Dalia to events, the two of them a testament to love's adaptability. Their relationship had evolved alongside Dalia's transition, deepening through challenges, strengthening through vulnerability. 5 years after that first makeup session in their bathroom, Dalia stood at a podium in a conference center, addressing a gathering of beauty industry professionals. Her auburn hair was styled in elegant waves, her emerald dress complementing her coloring perfectly. As she spoke about the transformative power of cosmetics, She caught Maria's eye in the audience, exchanging a smile that contained volumes. Later that evening, they walked through a park near their hotel, the spring air fragrant with blooming flowers. Dalia paused by a small pond, watching the ripples spread across the surface. "What are you thinking?" Maria asked, a question that had become familiar between them over the years. "I'm thinking about ripples," Dalia replied. "How one small change can spread outward, affecting everything it touches. When you asked me to be your practice model, you dropped a pebble in the pond of our lives." Maria smiled, tucking her arm through Dalia's. "I had no idea how far those ripples would reach." "Neither did I. But I'm grateful for every ring, every wave that's brought us here." Dalia turned to face her wife, taking both her hands. "Thank you for seeing me before I could see myself." "That's what love does," Maria said simply. "It sees potential, possibility. It sees the truth beneath the surface." They continued their walk, two women side by side, their paths inextricably linked. Dalia's journey from reluctant model to authentic self was not without its complications, its moments of doubt and difficulty. But with each passing day, each step forward, the rightness of her path was confirmed. The auburn-haired woman who now moved through the world with quiet confidence was not a character or a performance. She was Dalia, fully realized, her exterior finally reflecting the truth she had always carried within. As darkness fell and stars appeared overhead, Dalia and Maria made their way back to their hotel, hand in hand, walking steadily into a future they continued to create together. One brave step at a time.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!